Hey everybody, Rosematter here, and welcome to part 16 of my Umineko Let's Play. In the last episode, we had what I like to call the Last Supper, because it's always the big dinner, the last dinner before everybody starts to be killed off. So I imagine we're going to be getting to some murders, and I'm excited to see who's going to die this time and how. And we also had quite a sweet moment on Shannon's side from her rejecting Beatrice, saying she's not afraid of her. She's basically not giving in to Beatrice's mocking and saying that she's human. And Beatrice got a little rattled by that, so I imagine she's going to get back at Shannon somehow. My guess is she's probably going to go after Cannon before Shannon, leave her alive and let Shannon deal with the consequences of her actions, making her feel guilty for killing Cannon. So that's my guess. Is I'm maybe Cannon is going to be one of the first six to die, and then Shannon's going to feel the guilt about that by defying and standing up to Beatrice. But there's only one way to find out. Let's go ahead. Let's jump into it, and let's see who was murdered in this episode.
その後のことはわかりません。私たち使用人は食堂に近づくなと厳命されましたもので。
なるほどね。それで、シャノンはそのベアトリーチェという人物に以前会ったことはある？
わかりません。
What a vague answer that we know is false. That was a slightly odd way to say it. I thought it didn't sound like she meant her memory was vague.
私たち使用人にとって、ベアトリーチェ様はお屋敷のもう一人の主です。親方様に感化されて、そうだと吹聴している。というふうにおっしゃる方もおられますが、私がここへ勤め始めた時から、ベアトリーチェ様の話はすでに囁かれておりました。
前に聞いたよ。敬わないと呪われたりして、実際に事故に遭った使用人もいるんでしょ？
ええ。ただ、信じる信じないに個人差があったのは確かです。私はそういうものには敬いを忘れないのが信条ですので、存在を疑ったことはありません。黄金の魔女という、その不確かな存在がきっといると、おぼろげに信じていました。
それで、実際にその不確かな存在の魔女が姿を現して堂々と玄関からやってきたということなのかな？
わかりません。私には何も。
シャノンは夕食を運んだ時に何か話はした？
いいえ、何も。
そっか。しかし、ご飯を食べる魔女というんじゃ、なんだかリアリティがないね。やっぱり、この島の魔女伝説を知る何者かが、ベアトリーチェの名を語っているだけなんだろうね。シャノンちゃんは、ベアトリーチェを多分、お屋敷の守り神みたいに思って敬ってきた気持ちがあると思うんだよ。だから、それを名乗る人物が現れたので、少し動揺しちゃったんじゃないかな。
そうですね。きっとそうなんじゃないかと思います。
She's like, alright, I'll let him mansplain it even though I know the truth. George was slightly at a loss for what to do about Shannon's downcast appearance. Yeah, considering that this part is called Wedding Ring, like he's gonna propose to her and she's in such a sour mood, understandably, given her point of view. Possibly, not just Genji, but also the young servants, including Shannon, had been strictly questioned about whether they had a clue as to who this person called Beatrice was, thinking that he had tried to cheer her up somehow. Like Maria and Jessica, Shannon too must be unable to completely hide her agitation over the sudden visit of a person calling herself the Golden Witch. He thought that must be the case, but George had no way of knowing what was in Shannon's heart. Shannon was bitter and sad. The door to the Golden Land would be opened. The witch had definitely told her that. That meant the demise of everything. Even if she accepted the ring from George, now they could never be married. No, in the first place. Did furniture like her have the right to be married? Even if the witch hadn't come to tell of their demise, wasn't it fated to fail sometime or another? Hadn't she turned her gaze towards the fun days with George and purposely closed her eyes to the sad reality?
どうしたんだい？さっきから本当に元気がない。
ジョージさん、婚約って何でしょうか？
He's like, well, that ruins the surprise.
あ、えっと、結婚の約束をするという意味だよ。でも、僕はその意味において、結婚と同じものだと考えてる。本当なら、僕は今すぐにでも、君をめとって家へ連れ帰りたい。でも僕は今、修行中の身で、まだまだ自らの城を築き上げる力量がない。だからこそ、一人前になって初めて、胸を張って君を連れ帰りたいんだ。それは遠い未来の話じゃない。ほんの3年ほどを待ってほしいというだけの話なんだ。でも僕は、だからといって3年間、自分の気持ちを偽っていたくない。だから、婚約指輪を贈ろうと決めたんだ。それは、男として情けない理由かもしれない。妻と仕事を両立できないから待ってほしいなんて理由での婚約なんて情けないものかもしれない。でも僕は決して君を。
ありがとうございます。ジョージさんにとって婚約指輪が恋人に贈るプレゼントの一つではないということが分かりました。
当然だよ。婚約指輪はただのアクセサリーじゃない。尊い約束を指輪の形で残す恋人たちの宣誓なんだ。
Oh, maybe even before she dies, at least this gives confirmation that, like, even if she thought they were destined to have their relationship end because of their statuses, like, he took this seriously and he's thinking about the future.
だとすると、すぐにも結婚するなら不要なものということになりますよね。
その時は婚約指輪じゃない。
Is she saying, like, let's get married right now, even if it's not official? That way, at least they can have that before they die.
結婚指輪として渡すよ。どちらにせよ、君に指輪を贈ることに変わりはないのさ。
この女は俺のものだから、誰も手を出すなよっていう売約札みたいなものですね。
いや、そんな意味じゃ。
It kind of is, though, a little bit. It's like a physical thing saying, like, this woman is taken, so don't encroach on my territory. George knew about his shameful character. When he had fallen for Shannon and sworn to become an excellent man, he had sworn to part ways with that shameful part of himself. So he chose to answer a little roughly on purpose, believing that Shannon would find it reassuring.
いや、その通りかもしれない。さよ、君を僕の妻にする。他の誰にもやらない。僕だけのものにする。だから、誰も手を出すな。
Well.
そういう指輪だよ。間違いない。
ありがとうございます。
At least he's honest, I guess.
本当に嬉しいです。
Then, George-san, if it was decided by fate that this engagement ring, that this promise would not be fulfilled, would you still give it to me? Shannon was about to ask that, but she swallowed her words, because George had already spoken the answer. George had said it. He had said that to him an engagement ring was infinitely similar to a wedding ring. Therefore, accepting George's ring had a far more sacred significance than a promise to marry.
だから、僕はあえてこれを婚約指輪と呼ぶのをやめにする。今からこれは婚約じゃない。結婚指輪だ。
いいのでしょうか。神様の祝福もなく、私たちが結ばれたことを、勝手に宣言してもいいのでしょうか。
神様も父さんも母さんもすべて事後報告で十分さ。僕たちが二人は結ばれたと一方的に宣言する。それは誰にも覆せない。
ジョージさん。
僕は一時の感情で言ってるんじゃない。 今だけの君を見て言ってるんじゃない。明日の君も明後日の君も、それこそ未来の老後の君すらも見据えて言っている。
He's like, even when you're old and gross, I'll still love you.
いつもジョージさんが話していることですよね。元気な子供や孫たちに囲まれてゆっくりとした老後を過ごしたいって。
うん。その時僕の隣には年老いた君がいる。それを僕は予言するよ。
And I know she said it before about how she likes the idea of a big family, but at the same time, like him just telling her, like, this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna have kids, we're gonna have grandkids, and that's it. Like, okay, like, let her decide that, dude.
必ずその日は訪れるから。
必ず訪れますか。信じてもいいですか。
うん、必ず、絶対。それを言葉でない形で証明するのが。
見せてください。
え、これさ。
George, thinking about how he's being told to show her the ring, hurriedly took it out of the ring box. Even though he had practiced so much, he hadn't been able to look cool. He probably wasn't expecting her to demand, like, give me the ring. But Shannon wasn't looking at that. With a straight and direct gaze, with faint tears and a smile, she was staring right at George's eyes. No, into something she could see beyond his eyes.
私にその未来を見せてください。
ああ、見せるよ。必ず約束する。老後までじゃない。死んだ後も、僕らは魂になっても、ずっとずっと一緒にいる。
Well, she's like, you could have said not the last part about us dying. Shannon wiped away her tears and took the ring box. Inside was a diamond ring more than worthy of blessing the two of them. George said that line that he had practiced over and over again inside his head.
その指輪を好きな指にはめて、それを返事にしてほしいんだ。
I wonder if this will be different from the first episode, where instead of her being all coy about it, now that she knows that she's going to die, maybe she'll just do it right then and there and just prove to him, like, you know, I'm married to you.
つまり、明日の朝までに。
She's like, I'll do it right now, bitch. Yep. Shannon smiled, took the ring, and with a completely natural movement, put it on the ring finger of her left hand. It really had looked like a very, very natural movement, and for a while George was stunned. Oh, I like seeing these like slight
私のお返
changes.
事です。ジョージさん。
シャノン、いや、さよ。
魂になってもずっとずっと一緒です。ジョージさん。
There was no blessing from God, no pastor to witness, nothing. But the two to be married had proclaimed it. Two souls were joined here today. That was oddly sweet. People are going to start dying soon. Now, the thing is, in what order and how? How is this going to be different?
姉さんはバカだ。
そうかな。
家具のくせに家具のくせに。
私家具じゃないよ。もう。
嘘だ。どうして自分を騙すんだよ。人間になんか絶対になれないって知ってるくせに。黄金鏡へ行かなきゃ人間になれないって知ってるくせに。なのにどうして黄金鏡へ生きる約束を自分で保護に。
そっか。指輪を受け取ったらベアトリーチェ様との約束がなかったことになっちゃうんだったね。ごめんね。
あとは僕も姉さんもジョージ様も親方様もみんな条件は同じだ。13人が生贄にされる。5人しか黄金鏡に招かれない。その一石を自分で蹴るなんて。
おかしいね。未練があるのはカノン君の方みたいだね。
未練があるのは姉さんの方じゃないか。婚約しちゃったんだろ。 果たせない運命なのを知りながら。
Oh, I think it's yeah. As soon as he, well, I joked about George not. He shouldn't have said the thing about like them dying, but I think that probably cemented in her the fact where he said even in spirits, even in spirits will always be together. So she's like, well, I got what I wanted then.
ずっとずっと永遠に一緒だよって約束した。だからね、その瞬間に私たちの永遠は完成したの。たとえ私たちが生贄になってしまうとしても。だからいいの。未練があるのはむしろカノン君の方。私たちは家具なんでしょ。私たちはどういう結果になろうとも解放される。なら黄金鏡に行けるか行けないかなんてどうでもいいことじゃない。なのにカノン君は黄金鏡へ行くことに固執してる。どうしても人間になりたいんでしょ。どうして？
人間になりたいからだよ。家具はもう嫌だ。
どうして？
僕も恋がしたかったんだ。
Aw. Tears spilled from both of Cannon's eyes, and he
お
howled.
嬢様のことが好きだった。そしてあの日のお嬢様の姿を見てもっと好きになった。そしてお嬢様も僕のことが好きだと分かってすごく嬉しかった。でも僕は核でお嬢様の気持ちを受け止めることはできなくて。
それが勘違いだった。私たちは家具かもしれない。人間以下かもしれない。でも恋をする資格がないわけじゃなかった。
添い遂げられぬ思いならない方がマシだって思った。いつか自分も消え去る日が来て、それがきっとお嬢様を傷つけるなんて勝手に決めつけて。違うんだ。僕が怯えていただけなんだ。僕は永遠になれない恋ならしない方がマシだって怯えてただけなんだ。
Well, he talks about like, being wanting to be human because of, but like, as a human, love isn't eternal. Love is finite. And, whether that means one person will die before the other, or if that means, people just fall out of love, that's being human. That's the human experience, Canon, is the fact that love isn't eternal.
セミは生涯のうち数週間にも満たないわずかな期間で恋をして消えていくんだって。数週間で終わる恋だからと恋をしないセミはいないんじゃないかな。
Right? That's being human, is knowing that we have finite time, but still trying to do the best with the time we have on Earth and try and find love and happiness, even if it might not last. It's not too late, my dude. Go find Jessica before you guys die. Proclaim your love. It seemed that Cannon was still speaking of his regrets, but by now it was all jumbled up in his crying voice.
あの魔女が憎い。僕にどうしてこんな気持ちを植え付けて。あいつさえ妙ないたずらをしなければ僕はお嬢様のことなんか気にならなかったのに。
ベアトリーチェ様はひどいね。カノン君にそうやって悔し泣きをさせるために運命をいたずらした。でも魔女の思惑は多分外れてる。だって
Knowing love isn't a lingering attachment that ties you to life. It's the place we should reach on our journey through life.
というわけだカノン。せっかくの約束はこれで遂法だな。さてさて、これにて全ての駒の条件は同じよ。駒は18、13人が生贄に捧げられる。生き残る5人は誰か、それとも 誰かがこの儀式を打ち壊してみせるか。誰がどうやってこれはチェスプロブレムではない、対等なゲームだ。わらわだけが一方的に詰めるわけではない。そなたはわらわの詰めから懸命に逃れ続け、引き分け無効試合に持ち込むことができる。まあせいぜいそなたにできるのはそれを延々と繰り返すのが関の山よ。そしておそらくそれはそなたにとってそう難しいことではあるまい。しかしそなたは永遠に続く無効試合にやがて精神をすり減らし、やがては精神を殺す。
So I'm guessing that in this world of Umineko, do the characters have some lingering remembrance of what happened to them in previous games, as she calls them, or do they start completely, like, not knowing anything? Because with Higurashi, the characters in the answer arcs, like, they had some lingering memories of what happened in previous loops. In Umineko, is that the same, or do they just, like, not remember what happened to them and use that, information to their advantage to try and beat the witch?
その時にこそ敗北を受け入れ、わらわに屈服することになるであろう。対等なゲームと言った理由、それはわらわにも敗北の条件を設けてあることだ。負けのないゲームほど退屈なものはないのでな。わらわを負かす方法、それはわらわの肖像画に捧げられたあの碑文よ。あれこそは黄金鏡の扉の開き方にして同時に儀式を打ち破る鍵でもある。わらわは碑文に従い儀式を完遂する。そなたは碑文の謎を解き、儀式を打ち破りわらわを滅ぼす。碑文に隠された謎を解き、わらわが金蔵に値し莫大なる黄金のありかを暴いてみせよ。こたびのゲームはどういう結末を見せるのやら、健闘を期待するぞ。わらわを楽しませてみせろよ。後ろ宮バトラー
I love it. I love her screaming his name so much. I like it a lot more than Kinzo screaming her name. Okay, so all this time I thought she was talking to Canon, but okay, she's just like obsessed with Battler. So maybe oh, what's this place? This is new. They have like a church here?
異論はない。私と夏日は認める。
信じられないし、
What is
信じた
this?
くないけれど、それが現実なのね。
夏日、言葉を少し選びなさい。彼女は当家の最高の賓客なのだ。
わしらも認め
What
る。
is this?
グーの音も出えへん。
へえ、認めるわ。
You know, it's bad when Ava is saying something without, fighting it.
一片の文句もない。まさか本当に素直にあなたに尊敬の念を覚えるわ。
私もよ。すごいわ。
They're talking about the witch, I'm assuming. What is this? Is this their version of purgatory? Like, what?
純粋に尊敬する。だから認めざるを得ないわ。
俺も認めるぜ。未だに信じられねえ。だがどうしようね。悪魔を証明しちまった。
You've proven devils.
あんた
Okay.
の勝ちだ。
Alright, okay.
悪魔の証明はそなたが好む証明不能への便利な言い訳だったが、あだになったようだな。
いじめるなよ魔女様。 俺はもうあんたを認めてるぜ。降参だ。
キリエ、まだ異論があるか？わらわは全員一致しか好まぬ。
I'm like, when is this is this taking place now? Is this taking, like, what is going on here?
お前一人がわらわの存在を認めぬならば。
And once again, Battler's going to be the outliner here, where he's going to be the only one who's just still not accepting it. As the witch laughed boldly, the siblings started to panic. They were afraid of displeasing the witch. Kyrie lightly closed her eyes, and after keeping silent for a while, opened her mouth.
ごめんなさい、降参よ。
Only Kyrie had faced the witch with stern eyes until the end. However, she had only been able to resist acknowledging the truth for a short time. The reality, the being that was before her eyes, couldn't be denied. Devils had already been proven. So there's another thing in, like, italics. So, like, is that a rule? I'm wondering if, like, the things in italics are those rules of this world. So the devils have been proven in this world.
私も認めるわ。あなたはベアトリーチェ、後宮家の顧問錬金術師、そして偉大なる魔法の使い手、魔女であることを認めざるを得ない。
I'm so confused by that. Is this taking place in present time? What? Is that like her own version of a world, like where she was with the kids in the tea room? I don't understand that. Did she bring them all to that room to, like, what? I guess we'll find out soon enough. Because the dinner was very disappointing. There was no reading of the letter. I was expecting Beatrice to make her appearance at dinner. That didn't happen. Oh, here comes. Here comes. Here comes. Yes, the clock. This is what I've been waiting for. And also dreading at the same time, depending on which characters die. Okay, so we're assuming, yeah, this is happening, actually. So Beatrice gathered them together and convinced them that she's a witch? It's like they were hoping to ambush her, and then she flipped it on them. Okay. Oh, this isn't going to be cool. I imagine it's not going to be nearly as much of a shock as the first episode. I wasn't expecting, you know, like 5 or 6 people to die in one go. Despite the fact it clearly said it in the epitaph that that was going to happen. And once again, we've got the kids separated from the adults. So, it'd be interesting to see how things are going to go this time. Alright, here we go. And now we have like, oh, wow, okay. There we go. It's like skipping quite ahead here. The second day. So there's probably going to be about 20 to 30 minutes of just people, like, you know, talking and things are somewhat normal, and then we're going to find the murders. What was the sound that always filled the ears? The sound of the rain, the sound of a waterfall, or was it radio static? In that case, I want it to be the sound of blood flowing through the body. I want it to be the sound of the blood circulating throughout my body, telling me that I'm still alive.
Asa nanoka.
All right, so we're seeing Kinzo's point of view, because yeah, we really didn't see anything from Kinzo throughout, like, all of this after that dinner. Like, his remains and his, like, movements were kind of unknown, so it's good to get another point of view. The light entering through a crack in the curtain was faint, but it at least told him that dawn had broken. Kinzo, still in the same pose he had when he awoke, still sitting in his chair and looking up at the ceiling, felt the blood slowly travel throughout his body. Judging by the clock, it was early morning, 6 on the dot. No matter how tired he was, no matter how deeply he slept, he woke up at exactly this time, as though he had measured it with an hourglass. He didn't think that something like this was worthy of boasting of, but he told himself while he could still do something like this, he was still in robust health.
朝を迎えたということは、どうやら最初の生贄は逃れたということらしい。
And I'm also interested to see if the order of things of how people, like which people die, are going to change, if they're going to be the same, and we're just seeing different points of view. Maybe each episode it's the same way, but we get to see the different points of view of each person, like on that night or the morning, and we kind of get to piece together what happened exactly.
ルーレットの目が幸運だったのか、我が努力の賜物なのか。区別のつかぬところがなんとももどかしいが、それは言うまい。
Kinzo was very slightly driven by a temptation to look at the other side of the study door, because he thought that maybe he might find the traces of a vain struggle to break the door, made by something trying to select him as one of the first 6 sacrifices.
人間とは安っぽい生き物だな。人事を尽くして天命を待ちながら幸運を得られた時にはそれが単なる幸運ではなく己の技量によるものだったとうぬぼれたくもなる。
So he wanted to check whether there was a wretched mark on the door. That is only human. Therefore Kinzo did not check. He repressed the things he wanted to do because he was human. By that, Kinzo could immerse himself in the feeling of sufficiency, as though he had become a being that surpassed humans. He became aware of human desires and forbade it. Things that a human wanted to do, he resisted. This eccentric and rebellious sense had surely given him a rare genius, which must have allowed him to succeed in his exploits as he revived the Ushiromiya family in one generation.
さて、ベアトリーチェ。お前が取った6つの駒は何なのか。そして次なる手はどう来るのか。楽しませてもらうぞ。私の守りは完璧だ。前回のような無様はさらさぬぞ。
Oh, I will not shame myself like last time, so does he remember what happened? Wait. Okay. Okay. So he might remember what happened last time. The servants woke early. They had to open the curtains, prepare breakfast, and complete various other tasks to welcome the guests to a new day. So if he does remember, and he said he won't fail like last time. So I had a theory that maybe the body in the boiler wasn't actually him, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe he actually did die that way. Goda was the most enthusiastic. Okay, Goda. Okay, so things are already different. So Goda is alive, unfortunately. Goda was the most enthusiastic. He had been told to concentrate his efforts in particular on his work as a chef for the duration of the family conference, and he had been specially exempted from several tasks that servants normally must do. He's gonna have breakfast ruined because like a bunch of people are gonna be murdered. He's like, God damn it, that's another meal that people are going to ignore. It seemed that Goda, who was a show-off, had a particular feeling of supremacy about that. He left the preparations of the inside of the mansion to Genji and the rest, and worked on preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Alright, Genji's still alive. Genji split the work, and Shannon and Cannon are still alive. Split the work with Shannon and Cannon, and they carried out various tasks. Shannon headed to the dining hall and knocked. Last year, the family conference had continued into the small hours of the night, but Natsui does not have the charm that Jessica gave her last time, so maybe Natsui's one of them who is dead. It wouldn't have been odd for this year's conference to continue all the way until the next morning, so she had knocked out of consideration for the possibility they were still having a discussion inside. But there was no response, so she opened the door and said good morning. Are we going to have some murders here? Oh Already?
お
Oh?
はようございます。いらっしゃいませんか？
The room was cold and it seemed the conference had ended a long time before. Well, maybe because the, let's see, so 6 sacrifices. So we've got Natsui, Kraus, Rosa, Kyrie, Rudolph. So that's 5 adults. Maybe Nanjo was there too, so maybe like if they were all gathered in one area, maybe they all got killed swiftly in one room in whatever that church-looking place was. I don't think Nanjo would be there. Is there an adult I'm missing? Oh, derp. Ava and Hideyoshi. That would be 7, right? Yeah. On top of the table, there was a tea set for which they had probably been drinking, arranged in a way that would make it easy to clean them up. Cleaning away the table was cleaning away the tea was a servant's job. So if the family was too caring and cleaned it up themselves, the servants would lose face. Therefore, just doing this much for the servants truly was a pleasing act of kindness. As she approached the table to clean it away, she noticed that something like a memo had been left along with the cups. It had been placed together with the tea set, so naturally thinking it was a memo for the servant cleaning up, Shannon took it. Ooh, I wonder what the letter that Rosa had was. If that had something about like, we all have to meet in this area, and maybe that's where Beatrice appeared. Written on it was not a request, nor thanks for preparing the tea, but just a single word. Shannon looked at it blankly and read it out loud.
礼拝。
Oh, chapel! They're all gonna be there. Shit. Okay, so if we got 6, then that means one person survived then. Maybe Rosa survived because she had the letter. Oh, here we go. I'm glad that this is going pretty quickly. A small sound kept repeating over and over. It was a sound that would ordinarily have been trivial and insignificant. I hope I stop hearing it soon, then I can return to my doze, someone thought vaguely. But no matter how much time passed, the sound did not end. It repeated over and over. Oh, shut up. Who is that? Banging on the door constantly. As soon as she realized this, she woke up. Someone was knocking. Then she noticed it wasn't just a knock, but a voice too.
Rosa-sama. Rosa-sama.
Okay, Rosa did survive. All right, I guess because maybe, yeah, she had the letter, I'm guessing. She was given the letter that she was the one who would survive the first 6 sacrifices, and I'm guessing the rest of the siblings all got killed.
おはようございます。
待って、今行きます。
It had been Genji's voice. Looking at the clock, it was still before 7. It was clearly too early to wake the guests. Did something happen that was bad enough to cause this? She felt her sleepiness increasingly fade thanks to this ominous premonition. Because Genji had been a familiar servant to Rosa since her childhood days, she opened the door a crack and answered even though she was slightly defenseless in her pajamas.
おはようございます。早朝から申し訳ございません。
何かあったの？
はい、実は
Oh
礼
shit.
拝堂に。
Genji spoke into Rosa's ears and told her something in a small voice. It seemed that Rosa couldn't understand what she was being told after only hearing it once, and after repeating the words back to him several times, she finally realized that apparently something strange had happened. Rosa closed her door for a second, and after changing her clothes, she immediately accompanied Genji, and they headed to the mansion. Oh shit. I wonder if she remembers having that conversation. Maybe Beatrice wiped her memory of what happened at the chapel? I don't know. The chapel requires some explanation. It wasn't in the mansion, but in a grove behind the mansion, which could be reached after a short walk. It had been built at the same time that the mansion had been constructed on Rokonjima, so while its outside walls had been repaired many times, making it look new from the outside, it was a very old building. Rosa and Genji dashed through the rain together. Just like the previous night, the rain was falling in earnest. It's funny that it's like, because we read the first chapter, immediately we have this sense of foreboding, like we're just immediately checking like, okay, who's alive, because we know there's going to be those sacrifices. Eventually, they began to see the chapel beyond a sparse grove. If all she knew of it was its appearance from the outside, it might have felt like a place of dazzling beauty where a pair of young lovers might want to hold a ceremony. Oh, maybe... I doubt that George and Shannon are going to be going to the chapel after all this, being like, let's go get married at the chapel. However, it seemed in Kinzo's eyes this was a very sacred place, and Rosa and her siblings had been harshly told not to approach it unnecessarily. That is a big-ass chapel, damn. So even at this age, no matter what the reason for it, she felt some guilt in approaching the chapel, and was gripped by the fear that this would surely make her father so angry he would slap her across the face. So yeah, we know Rosa was at the chapel, but it must have been like Ava and Hideyoshi leaving early, and then they survived the murders. Maybe Beatrice told Rosa to leave early. Maybe Rosa just happened to leave early. I don't know. The servant silhouettes could be seen in front of the entrance to the chapel. Goda, Shannon, and Cannon. Which means that the servants on the morning shift had gathered. A short while ago, Rosa had been told the nature of the situation verbally by Genji. However, without laying eyes on it directly, she really hadn't been able to understand. Probably all of the servants gathered there were the same. Without seeing it with their own eyes, they couldn't understand what was going on. Okay, there's another thing, italic, without seeing it with their own eyes. Because on the door, that was the entrance to the chapel, and drawn very large with a creepy, sticky paint-like substance that made one think of blood, it was something like a creepy magic circle. Okay, so they don't know that the murders have happened yet. Just like last time, it was just like they're freaked out by the circle, but once they open it up... The servants looked at each other. Goda was the first to open his mouth.
申し訳ございません。普段はここへは立ち入りませんもので、いつ書かれたのかはわかりません。
じゃあ最初に見つけたのは誰？
はい、私です。食堂へお茶の道具の片付けに行きましたら、礼拝堂と書かれたメモがあったもので。
Shannon held out the memo with a shaking hand.
誰の字？兄さんや姉さんの字ではないわね。それであなたはここへ来てこれを見つけたのね。
はい。
Oh yay, so we're gonna have Rosa as the, the person taking care of the kids instead of Natsui. I definitely trust Natsui more than Rosa. I mean, Rosa's pretty level-headed except when it comes to Maria, and then she just loses her mind.
Rosa-sama, これを。
何？
Oh, Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. For...
Kennen was pointing at a single line of English written below the creepy magic circle. Until it had pointed out to her, she had thought it was just another part of the magic circle and hadn't noticed it. Written there, in English, were the words, Happy Halloween for Maria. Happy Halloween for Maria. Oh no, Rose is gonna, lose her mind at Maria even more, if she thinks that all of this is happening because of Maria. I'm not saying Maria has anything directly to do with it, but she's gonna be like, you talk to the witch, why is the witch doing this for you? A wish for an enjoyable Halloween. For Maria. A creepy magic circle. I wouldn't put it past Rosa, because even Natsui was thinking about, she wasn't happy with Maria, with all the stuff Maria was saying. I wouldn't put it past Rosa to snap on Maria when she's doing all this creepy stuff. For Rosa to, shut her away, or, maybe even try and kill Maria, thinking Maria might have something to do with this. For Maria. Happy Halloween. The only person who said the words Happy Halloween to Maria yesterday. The symbols matched. The Golden Witch, Beatrice.
Maria は？あの子、いとこたちと一緒に寝てるはずよね。確認した？
申し訳ございません。マリア様のお名前が書かれていたことには今気づきましたもので、まだ確認しておりません。至急。
何やってんのよ。私はマリアの様子を見てきます。それからクラウス兄さんたちにも知らせて、以後の対応の指示を受けて。
After saying that much, Rosa finally noticed that something was out of place. Her own rank within this family conference was the lowest of the four siblings. In an abnormal situation like this, why had she been the only one called when the other siblings hadn't? Even if Mari's name had popped up. Oh, do they know already that they're dead? Have they checked the chapel yet? They must have.
Oh, okay, or they couldn't find them.
申し訳ございません。
ご連絡申し上げようとしたのですが、 oh, okay, or they just, yeah, they couldn't find them. おそらくは見当たらず。
Oh,
おそらくは見当たらず。
okay, or they just, yeah, they couldn't find them.
奥様もお部屋におられません。シーツの様子からすると昨夜はベッドに戻られていないのかもしれません。
Oh man, I'm gonna miss Natsui during all this. Instead, we gotta deal with with Rosa. Rosa felt something creepy. Sorry, let's try that again. Rosa felt something creepy crawling slowly up her back.
礼拝堂の中は確認した。
いえ、
Okay.
まだです。確認しようとはしたのですが。
実は礼拝堂の鍵は特別でマスターキーに対応しておりません。一本だけある鍵でしか開けられないのですが、その鍵がキーボックスから紛失しているのです。
She didn't want to get any closer to the door with a creepy magic circle if she could help it. Rosa readied herself and approached and tried pushing and pulling the knob. All she felt was the resistance of the sturdy lock.
入れる窓などがないか探してはみたのですが、もし中を確認するのでしたら窓を破らなければならないかと思います。いかがいたしましょう。
そんな許可私に出せるわけがないわ。お父様の大切な礼拝堂なのよ。そんなことできないわよ。
Then the events of the previous day swirled around in the back of Rosa's mind. All right, are we going to find out what the letter said? I'm guessing the letter says, gather the siblings at the chapel or something. Because the chapel is such a weird place for them to be, because like they said, the chapel's a place that they don't go to because it's sacred. That's right, when I met that witch in the rose garden, didn't she hand Maria an envelope? Yes, I'm positive she did. When Maria had tried to open it, the witch had told her not to do that yet, and then she had definitely said, the time will come soon to open it. Rosa became convinced. There could be no doubt. The letter, which had been handed to Maria... Oh, yeah, I guess Beatrice didn't specifically tell Maria, I don't think, to open it at dinner this time, so it must be for a different time. After dashing back to the guest house, Rosa approached the cousin's room while hiding her footsteps, softly opened the door and peered inside. From the inside, she could hear the healthy snores of young people. The 4 children were all there. Maria was there, sleeping soundly. After heaving a sigh of relief, she entered the room with quiet footsteps. She was after Maria's handbag, which was resting on the sofa. Maria always liked walking around with her treasure. Oh, I wonder if she's gonna see the envelope and open it up. She was probably imitating how her mother always carried her makeup with her. Of course, she was just copying her, so on the inside it was full of junk. In Maria's case, it was full of small, creepy, occult-like items, and a notebook with things like that written in it. Rosa hadn't once been happy to see her daughter walking around with those kinds of ungirlish things. However, after she tried to force Maria to stop, they had gotten into a big fight, and she decided to let it be. Yeah, there's the letter. I thought she was going to be going after her notebook to see about the drawing on it, to see if it was drawn in the notebook, but... Oh no, Rosa, you're opening it up when you're not supposed to. Maria's supposed to open it. A western envelope with the crest of the gold eagle. When she took it out, she could tell there was a heavy, cylindrical object inside. She could tell by its feel and its weight. Oh, that's probably the key, I'm guessing. Ah, yes, the key to the... Makes sense. There was no doubt. This was a key. After turning around and checking that Mario was still sound asleep, Rosa tore open the envelope and tipped out the contents into her palm. It was a key with an old and intricate design. Rosa grasped the key and dashed out. It seemed that Badler noticed those sounds, but after grumbling and turning over in his sleep, he started snoring again.
Genji-san, この鍵、ひょっとして礼拝堂の鍵ということ。
That was pretty good reasoning on Rosa's part to remember that.
これをどこで？はい。これが礼拝堂の鍵です。
Rosa approached the creepy magic circle once again and put the key in the keyhole. Here we go, here we go. There was a strong resistance. After it resisted for a short while, it stopped that resistance with a clunk. Then, squeaking with a noise that hurt one's ears, it slowly began to open. It's funny. The first episode, we knew something bad was inside there, but I could have never predicted how bad it was. With this one, I know what's coming, but it's like it still fills you with that sense of dread. Her voice reverberated throughout the massive room. Of course, there was no answer. The biggest shock would be if there was no dead bodies in here at all. It would just like play against your expectations. The chapel had a high ceiling, and the air was cold. And even on this rainy, unsettling day, for some reason it felt sacred. Servants timidly followed after Rosa.
Rosa-sama, あれを.
Cannon noticed it immediately and pointed. Over there was the altar. In the place where normally a pastor would preach of God's love, there was a table that shouldn't have been there. At first it looked like a dining table, and there actually were gorgeous plates and utensils set on the table, enough to make you think it was a child's birthday party or something. Oh, so fucked up, there's just a bunch of dead bodies, like, Happy Halloween, Maria, here's some candy, and dead people. Upon closer inspection, the surrounding area had been decorated with pumpkins and black and orange ribbons. They were probably Halloween decorations. And there were people seated at the table. Oh, that's so creepy if they've got them dead but sitting upright. Oh. 3 people on each side facing each other, seated in chairs. They could be recognized at a glance. Kraus and his wife, Avon her husband, and Rudolph and his wife. But if you were asked if these were definitely them, you'd still have to go even closer to check. Because they seemed almost like dolls. That's so fucked up. That's so creepy. That's so much creepier than them just being in a shed, like, piled on top of each other. Like, here they're placed and presented as if they are alive. Rosa and the rest had opened the door, entered all at once with the sound of many footsteps, and called out, asking if anyone was there. And yet, there had been no reaction. Even assuming they had chosen to ignore them, normally you'd expect there to be some kind of reaction. And there hadn't been even that. So at first it felt like someone had set down some dolls that looked a lot like them. By now, it wasn't just Rosa. Maybe they are dolls. Maybe they're... I'm still, like, in denial. Maybe they're fake bodies. This is all fake. Shannon and Cannon and even Goda. They were all fighting frantically against the rising creepy emotion tightly grasping their hearts. As long as I don't have to see the dead bodies propped up and looking like with their eyes all open up. Oh, please, I don't want a picture of that. As she climbed up to the altar, she called out again, but still the others gave no reaction. Yes, by now, Rosa had accepted it. They were not dolls. She had accepted that those were people. Oh, that they were those very people. Okay. They approached close enough to be able to see clearly what was on the table. Just like their first impression, it looked like a lovely banquet, reminiscent of a child's birthday party. Plates piled with sweets, glasses with lovely drinks, several ornaments in the shape of pumpkins. They were all decorated in a Halloween style, and while it might have been an irrelevant thought at a time like this, she thought this would surely make Maria happy if she could see it. Dead bodies aside, but even then I don't think she'd care, to be honest. They were seated in front of that table, and it looked like they were sleeping. It was an eerie scene, as though a small, fun-looking Halloween party had been stopped in time. Oh, if only. I wonder if their bodies have been mutilated like the first time, or if maybe they were just given something in the drinks to just, like, basically kill them. When she approached even closer, she realized the candies were scattered all over the floor. There were candies in very fancy wrapping, cookies, fizzy lemon sweets, chocolates. And they were all distributed across the carpet, which was covered with blackberry and cranberry jam. Is that jam? Oh, that's not jam. That's blood. Rosa and the rest finally realized what the situation was. It was a Halloween party, a banquet for those not of this world. Oh, there's the drop. Kraus, Natsui, Ava, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Kyrie. 6 people in all were seated in the chairs, dead as though they were sleeping. How could you tell that they were dead and not simply sleeping? That was because they were, from their chest to their stomachs, vertically sliced open. Jesus.
なんてむごい。
The 6 of them were seated at a Halloween party, all of them killed with their stomachs sliced open. Was the jam that covered the floor something that they couldn't finish eating, which had overflowed out of their stomachs? No. The contents of their stomachs had been splattered all across the floor. And that wasn't all. From their stomachs, almost as though they had spilled out. Sweets. Oh god, like the worst pinata ever. Candies and cookies, fizzy lemon sweets and chocolates had spilled out, stained with blood, and had scattered across the floor. What could have happened to cause this? It was almost as though the insides of their stomachs had been stuffed full of sweets, and when their stomachs had been cut, it had all flowed out. Man, what an image. Rosa remembered a gross-out meal, a turkey that had been served at her own birthday when she was a young girl. When she had put the knife in, from the inside, her very favorite, but because no one had told her about it. Bright red ketchup omelet rice had poured out like blood-stained maggots. Ooh. Ugh, dripping, slimy, pulpy, sticky. Ugh. The trauma of her youth was revived. Rosa felt a monster raging inside her stomach as the acid started to rise up. Unable to hold back, she threw up on the floor. Her empty stomach couldn't throw up anything but stomach acid. The scene in front of her was no longer a fun Halloween party by any means. The 3 couples had been placed there, with their stomachs vertically wrenched open with a goop. Lots and lots of sweets had been stuffed in there. Bleh. Blood and guts and sweets were overflowing onto the floor. Blood-stained, sticky, sloppy, pulpy, sweet candy stuck to each finger, gummy. Ugh, but it's stained with their entrails, sloppy, pulpy. What was it that I stepped on just now? It didn't feel like a candy or a cookie or a fizzy lemon sweet or a chocolate. Oh, I'm so scared I can't even look at the bottom of my foot to see what I stepped on. This game is very good at describing just the scene and just make you feel revolted at it. Like just the adjectives they use and the mental images they create. Ugh, what a gruesome Halloween party. From far away, it really looked beautiful, fantastical, and fun. And when you see it up close, it's really terrible, disgusting, and yet somehow beautiful. Alright, let's go ahead before I forget. Let's take a look at the characters. So yeah, it's interesting. It seems like always one of the Ushiromiya family is left alive, while the rest of them are No, that's not necessarily... No, that's not true. That's not true, because Ava and Rudolph in the first episode, they survived, so... Because all the servants survived this time. Oh, man. It's so sad seeing Natsui die this time. Alright. Natsui, corpse found inside the chapel. Direct cause of death is unknown, but it seems her stomach was cut open, and her intestines were pulled out after her death. Additionally, sweets and candies were packed into her stomach. See? Didn't I tell you? Bellies are full of candy. Kraus, corpse found inside chapel. Direct cause of death unknown. His stomach was cut open and intestines pulled out. Sweets and candies packed into his stomach. Welcome, Maria. Happy Halloween. Ava. Everyone, I'll just skip the thing because it seems it's all the same about the direct cause of death unknown, but the stomach cut open, intestines pulled out, and sweets packed into her stomach. Everyone has a belly that is filled with sweet dreams. A belly could never be full of disgusting things. Poor Hideyoshi, the one always giving out candy, and now the candy is stuffed inside him. Rudolph, that's why we want to be simple and sweet like candy. And Kyrie, so this dreamland is for you. Happy Halloween. Oh, I should probably read it in order. Okay, welcome Aria. Happy Halloween. See, didn't I tell you? Bellies are full of candy. Everyone has a belly that's filled with sweet dreams. A belly could never be full of disgusting things. That's why we want to be simple and sweet like candy. So this dreamland is for you. Happy Halloween. Alright. So I gotta try and like read it in order. I was reading it like right to left instead of left to right. Rose's wild thoughts tried as best as they could to escape her throat with a loud voice that was neither a scream nor a roar.
旦那様。
なのってひどい。
救急車警察。
そうよ。警察警察警察警察警察警察。
Well, she's definitely not handling it as well as Natsui. Natsui was very calm, whereas Rose is freak. I'd be like Rose. Or Goat. I'd be freaking the fuck out. I would not be able to comprehend, and I do not do well in emergencies. As people who have watched me play games, like when I'm dealing with a stressful situation, I do not handle it well. If a word tied to reality like police hadn't come out of Gota's mouth, Rosa and the rest would probably still have been unable to escape this nightmarish party. But that wasn't because they thought the police might be able to do something. If they didn't say police out loud, it felt like another seat would be set up at this demon's party and given to them. It felt like their own stomachs were getting uncomfortably filled from the inside, rumbling, churning. It was surely because candy was starting to overflow from their stomachs. Rosa was again tortured by a desire to vomit, and threw up her stomach acid on the floor. And then she searched to see whether there were any candy mixed in. Oh my god, she's already losing her mind. I think Rosa, of all of the adults, is probably one of the worst ones to have to, like, try and take care of the children. Because she's already losing it, understandably. But, like, Natsui and Ava, when they found the bodies, they were relatively calm about things. So we're gonna have to rely on Nanjo and Genji to be, like, the calm adults, I think. But we're probably going to have Rosa until the end, like we did with Natsui. That's my guess, anyway. Rosa coughed violently again, and violently spat up the stomach acid that burned her throat onto the floor. She realized by now her whole body had become covered in filthy sweat.
源氏さんとシャノンちゃんはお父様に連絡して指示を仰いでちょうだい。郷田さんはカノン君と一緒に行って警察に電話を。あと南條先生に来てもらっ。
Have Nanjo come here and what? It's way too late for medical care. The servants accepted their orders and dashed outside. After watching them leave, Rosa once again fixedly cast her eyes upon her siblings, who had been through life's joys and sorrows with her and their partners. And then with Rosa, she's like at the bottom. Well, Natsui technically I think is more on the bottom, but like Rosa is at the bottom of the sibling list, and now she's given all the power, and like the servants are going to be looking to her for guidance on what to do, I assume, and I don't think Rosa's going to handle it very well. Even though there could be nothing more tragic, for some reason, their fantastical deaths tempted her. And this is before Mari's going to start getting creepy and talking about Beatrice, and Rosa's going to snap on her. And to describe them as beautiful.
"いねえな。どこに行っちまったんだろうな。
使用人室も厨房も空っぽだぜ。一体どうしちまったってんだ。
It is weird having Battler be like he's not the main character. You assumed he would be, but I guess it's kind of like Higurashi where the main characters, they kind of jump around depending on what episode you're in, but...
"弱ったね、バトラ君。本当にローザおばさんだったのかい?"
まあ俺も寝ぼけてたから自信はねえんだが、明け方にローザおばさんが入ってきてマリアの手提げカバンを漁ってるような気がしたんだよ。 俺はてっきりマリアの手提げに歯磨きのチューブでも入ってるんじゃないかなんて思って寝ぼけてて。
なんで歯磨きのチューブがマリアの手提げに入ってるんだよ。
That would be the most normal thing Maria would have in her bag.
寝ぼけて夢でも見たに決まってんぜ。
Battler vaguely remembered Rosa entering the cousin's room, and Maria, who had woken up first, had started rampaging around saying someone had opened the letter she had been keeping safe, and so they had started wondering whether Rosa might have come and opened it.
黄金の魔女様の封筒か。中に何が入ってたんだろう。
わからないね。でもあの封筒はおじいさまが新書に使う後宮家の家紋の入ったものだった。親族会議と無関係なものが入っていたとは考えがたいね。
She hadn't let anyone touch it. Yesterday, Maria had bragged a lot about the envelope to Battler and the rest, so they remembered it well.
ジョージの兄貴の言う通りなら相当重要なものらしいが。
I like how they're just ignoring Maria. They're like, we'll just let her cry it out.
しかしそんな大事なものをどうして魔女様はマリアに渡したんだろうな。さっぱりだぜ。
The refreshing morning atmosphere had been completely wiped out by the occasional sounds of thunder. It was only natural. Since the time they'd woken up, they hadn't met anyone other than themselves. It felt like the mansion had become an empty husk, leaving only them behind.
おーい、誰かいないか。返事してくれよ。
After Jessica called out into the hallway, an answer finally came back. It was from the entrance hall. Oh, where's Kumasawa during all this, too? I hadn't seen her. Kumasawa, where are you?
何かありましたか？
南條先生だ。よかった。この島から僕たち以外が消えてしまったわけではないようだよ。
南條先生、おはようございます。すみませんが、うちの親たちとかどこに行ったか知りませんか？
はて、私も今起きてこちらに来たばかりですからね。
Have you, Nanjo?
わかりかねますが、さて。
It was only natural. Nanjo was a guest like the rest of them. Yeah, it's weird of all of the, all the servants were there except Kumasawa. I wonder where she's off to, that sneaky, crafty little old lady. He had now just come to pass the time in the parlor until breakfast. Maria buried her face in Nanjo's well-built stomach, sobbing and crying. Nanjo could do nothing but be bewildered at what was going on so early in the morning.
誰かかけてくるぜ。ジェシカ、誰か来るぞ。
From down the hall, they could sense people running hurriedly. When they looked, they saw it was Goda and Cannon. Running inside the mansion should have been immodest for a servant, and yet Battler and the rest didn't even think to question that now. Maria's sobbing had become so unimaginable they wanted to ask someone, anyone, where Rosa was. But the two servants ignored Jessica as she waved her hand. Goda flew into the servant room, and Cannon, noticing Nanjo was there, bowed and approached him at a quick pace and whispered something into his ear.
何ですって？ローザさんが。
はい、ご案内いたしますので、どうかご同行お願いいたします。
わかりました。
こちらへ。
Without saying anything more than that, Cannon finally noticed Jessica and bowed to her, but he wasn't calm. He dashed back down the corridor by which they had come, followed by Nanjo. By looking at how hurried they were, Battler and the rest realized that something really bad had happened. They saw Goda through the door to the servant room, which had been flung open. He had the telephone receiver in hand and was violently pressing the hook. From that, they realized he was trying to call a hospital or the police, or in any event, he was trying to call someone because a serious emergency had occurred.
行ってみようぜ。
They're just like, Maria, please shut up for like 2 seconds. There's more important things right now, Maria. They didn't know what, but something was happening. Battler and the rest chased after Kennen and Nanjo. And then we realized Kennen couldn't call Dr. Nanjo, but he hadn't called us, so we should have never followed. I wonder if Alice didn't regret her excess curiosity when she chased after the rabbit holding a clock.
Damn! 入ってダメ。見ちゃダメ。ジェシカちゃん、ダメ。
Yeah, this is different because unlike last time, if they all lost all their parents all in one fell swoop, whereas the first episode at least Jessica had her mom and George had his mom and dad for a little while.
何があったの？
なんだよこりゃ。趣味が悪いにも程があるじゃねえかよ。命を奪うならそれで十分事足りただろうがよ。なんだよこりゃ。わざわざ殺した後に椅子に座らせて腹裂いて菓子をわざわざ中に詰め込んだってのかよ。なんだってなんだってそんな悪趣味なことをしやがるんだよ。チキショウチキショウやってくれやがるぜ。最高だよ最高だよ。
The way that Battler responds is kind of strange. Like Jessica and George, they just react, you know, they start screaming and calling out for their parents, whereas Battler, when he finds the bodies, he like, let me go into a monologue about what I'm looking at right now.
皆さんは外へ出られた方がいい。こんな姿を皆さんに見せたいなどと彼らが思うわけがありません。
Nanjo told the children to go outside, but no one lent him an ear.
ローザさん、皆さんに言ってください。こんなもの見続けては毒になる。
Rosa regretted her own carelessness. She shouldn't have been able to, or she should have been able to anticipate that the children would eventually come here. She should have quickly locked it instead of standing around. So now the children had come. They had seen it. Surely, in this very moment, they were having a sight burned into their eyes, which is far more grotesque than the gross-out food Rosa had seen in her youth. While she hugged Maria, who had seemed to have forgotten her emotions as she stared dumbfounded at the horrible scene. Oh, I can't wait to see what Maria says about this. She's kind of probably going to be like, "Oh, Beatrice, you're so sweet. You did this all just for me?" Rosa shed copious tears for them and their parents. The four groaning and crying voices, their sadness, continued to echo in a place which should have known God's love. Okay, now we're going back to him looking over the scene with Beatrice.
またこんな殺人を。しかも今度もやたらと凝った最高にふざけた殺し方をしやがって。
わらわはそんな嘆きより感謝の言葉が聞きたかったぞ。
感謝感謝と言ったがこのクソババア。てめえ耳がいかれてやがるってんなら俺が両の耳を引き裂いてよく聞こえるようにしてやるぜ。なんで俺がこの最高にいかれた殺し方にありがとうございますベアトリーチェ様なんて言わなければならねえんだ。殺してやる。
I love him so much. He's like, I don't give a fuck if you're an all-powerful witch. I will threaten your life.
前回のゲームで
Oh god, that's a look.
お前は自分の親の死に顔が見られないと嘆いたな。だから残したぞ。しっかり残した。よく拝んでおけ。間違いなく父親たちが殺されたことを。
Alright, here's another thing in italics to keep an eye on. So without a doubt, your father and the others have been killed. So that blows my thing out of the water about like, well, maybe they're just bodies, other bodies that were swapped because the faces were indistinguishable. Well, Beatrice heard me and she's like, alright, well, I'll make it beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's them.
そうかよ。そいつはサービス満点だぜ。気に入った。俺はてめえの息の根を止めたら顔面耕してやろうと誓ってたが、そいつは取り消してやるぜ。てめえの腹渡を引きずり出してやる。
感情に任せて
Oh my god, she
思考
just
を
gets,
止めるな
oh, she gets freakier and freakier looking.
すでにわらわのゲームは始まっておるのだぞわらわは今回は綺麗に死体を残すことに決めた。なぜだかわかるか？前回のゲームでそなたがわらわの存在を否定するとき、こう考えて否定したであろう。それは顔面が潰され遺体の身元が確認できない。
Damn, it's like she's talking directly to me. Because me and Battler were thinking the same thing.
だから身代わりの死体を用意してアリバイを作った可能性が否定できない。
This is going to make it a lot tougher for me to make new theories for this chapter.
その可能性が排除できない限り人間犯人説は維持できる。
なんだと
さあバトラー、南條に検視を任せてよいのか？ミステリーの古典では検視の医者がグルというのが伝
I
統な
said
のだ
the same
よ。
thing about that too, about Nanjo could be in on it as well. God damn it, she's like throwing all of my theories out the window here.
なら南條に検視を任せるな。
Oh, I hate
そな
that
たが
face.
自らするがよい。
I hate that face.
間違いなく6人の死体が当人で、死んだふりなどでなく本当に死んでいることを十分に確認するがいい。お前の父親が母親が腹を裂かれて臓物を引きずり出されて殺されていることを。
Man, the creator really likes the pulling guts out, slicing stomachs and pulling out guts, doesn't he?
腹に手を入れてその手触りで確認するがいい。
That laugh, though, so freaky.
泣かねえ。ちくしょうちくしょう。
Badler suddenly yelled. His tears were still dripping down, but as though scolding himself for being girly, he slapped his face hard several times with both hands. I don't know if I'm explaining correctly, but what I'm saying is, like, this Badler looking on, is he able to control himself in this world and tell him, like, okay, go look at the bodies, just in case Nanjo is an accomplice. Even so, the tears still wouldn't stop. However, he felt a hot blaze ignite in both his eyes.
これだけの上等を決めやがった野郎に借りはがっちり返させていただくぜ。なら泣く時じゃねえ。自分のすべきことを考えろ。ああ、ダメだぜ、全然ダメだ。涙を流す暇があったら考えろ。涙腺なんかひるませる時じゃねえ。
Rather than pure hatred, maybe it was more of an evasive hatred to blot out his sadness. However, it gave a little courage to George and Jessica, who were being crushed by sadness.
そうだね。僕たちが泣いても起こってしまった現実は変わらない。
くそくそくそくそくそくそくそ。じゃあどうすりゃいいんだ。私は父さんと母さんのために何をすればいいんだよ。
ローザ様、戻りました。
郷田さん、警察はどうでしたか？対応の指示はいつ頃来られそうだと言っていましたか？
それが
Of
電話が
course.
故障のようでして、
Of course. Should have expected that.
非常用の無線機も試してはみたのですが、その天候のせいでしょうか、こちらも通じず。
なんですって。じゃあ警察に連絡がつかないということなの？あいつだ。あいつが電話線とかに細工して警察に。
Oh, is she talking about Rosa? Oh, she's probably like, yeah, Rosa's the only one standing, so she gets all of the inheritance. Oh, Jessica's immediately latching onto that. Well, it kind of makes sense because Jessica's mom was the one alive last time, so of course Jessica wouldn't think Natsui had anything to do with it. When she heard that the telephones were out of order, Jessica and Beatrice. Look at my thinking is like not Beatrice but Rosa. Like I was like, damn, Jessica. Like I wouldn't put it past Jessica to like blatantly say in front of Rosa, like I think it's you. But I'm like, oh yeah, right. I forgot. Beatrice is also actually made an appearance this time. Jessica immediately decided it was the work of the mysterious guest. Her eyes were bright red after so much crying, and they began to grow even more red with rage.
もう議論の余地なんかねえぜ。全てが分かってる。そうだと分かる。父さんと母さんを殺したのは誰だ。決まってるぜ。あいつだ。昨日来たとかいう魔女様に決まってる。襟首ひねり上げてやるぜ。チクショーチクショーチクショー。ジェシカちゃん、お待ちなさい。ゴーダさん、カノ君、行って。
はい。お嬢様、お待ちを。
Covering her unfocused sadness with anger, Jessica ran outside, torn apart by emotion. Thinking about it hastily, maybe the mystery guest Beatrice, who had arrived yesterday, was suspicious. However, at the current time, there was absolutely no proof that she was the culprit. At this moment, she was nothing more than a simple guest, and only one of many. So Rosa had to make an adult decision and stop Jessica in her hasty rampage. Goda and Cannon realized that immediately and chased after her.
誰にも招かれなかった客人。ベアトリーチェが犯人なんだろうか。
ジェシカの気持ちもわかる。そう思い込みたい気持ちは誰でもいいから犯人ってことにして横っ面をぶっ飛ばしてやりたい気持ちがある。だがその前にはっきりと理解する必要がある。ベアトリーチェってのは何者なんだ。俺は顔すら見てねえぜ。
Oh, here comes Maria. She was quiet for so long, I forgot she was there.
顔ならお屋敷に大きな肖像画で飾られてたよ。あれだけ見てまだ覚えられないのかな。
なんだよマリア、こんな状況で何がおかしいよ。
ベアトリーチェは魔女なんだよ。そして黄金鏡の扉を開くための儀式がいよいよ始まったの。この6人はその生贄なんだよ。さあさあ始まるよ、魔女の宴が。今宵はハロウィン。魔女たちが今こそ祝い集う。
マリア、その気持ち悪い声で笑うのやめなさいっていつも言ってるでしょ。
Plus, of course, Rosa's emotions are going to be heightened with all this, so it's just going to get worse. And then Maria is just going to up the creep factor because she's like so excited that this is happening. The crisp sound of Rosa slapping Maria's cheek echoed throughout the high... Yeah, like, Rosa's, like, she is not going to even attempt, I don't think. She's not even going to attempt to hide her contempt for Maria anymore. It kind of feels like ever since the rain started yesterday, no, ever since the island had been wrapped up in the typhoon, something has gone crazy. I had arrived in Rokonjima while it was clear and taken a nap because I had gotten up early. When I woke up, it had already started raining. And after I got up, that's when it all started. Suddenly, a mysterious visitor had arrived, calling herself the Golden Witch Beatrice, and it feels like the world has started skewing bit by bit into something insane. What happened while I was taking that nap? During that time, had this island been cut off, trapped in a different world where common sense doesn't apply? Who is this person called Beatrice? Is she some unknown person trying to involve themselves with the inheritance problem, like our parents were freaking out about at dinner last night? Or is the culprit the witch from the Legend of the Gold, like Maria says? Even if Jessica hadn't let her short temper get the better of her, in this situation, the visitor was probably the most suspicious. But we mustn't jump to conclusions just like that. Yeah, that's no good, no goddamn good at all. I smacked my face with both hands again, cooling off my brain before it got overheated. Even though it might have been a waste of effort.
これはおじい様の封筒。
On a tray piled with sweets that decorated the table, George and Nikki found a Western envelope which had the Ushiromiya family crest done on it in gold leaf. And it was unopened.
ってことは、それは俺たち宛てってことじゃねえのか。
Did we ever find out what Rosa's envelope said? That's not Rosa's envelope, is it? We know what Marius said. Marius had the key in it. And I don't know.
親父たちが読んだものだったなら、
開封されてるはずだぜ。
Rosa hasn't mentioned hers. She's just talked about Maria's.
その推理は正解のようだよ。書いてある。残されし者たちへって書いてあるよ。
それは犯人が残した手紙なの。中身は。
兄貴、開けようぜ。
After nodding silently, George Aniki opened it. A folded letter came out.
読むよ。六軒島へようこそ。後ろ宮家の皆様方。私は金蔵様にお仕えしております当家顧問錬金術師のベアトリーチェと申します。
Okay. We just heard a thing, so let's check the app. Characters. Okay. So, I don't think anything changed there about Beatrice. Goes by the same name as the Golden Witch who granted Kinzo his gold. Both the reason and the purpose of her visit is unknown. Was ushered into the VIP room, which no one has been allowed to use in the past. Where is Kumasawa during all this is what I want to know. So maybe it was a tip? Oh, here we go. Oh, okay. Well, it's the letter that he's reading right now, so we're going to just let him read it. That letter really was a joke. This Beatrice, who called herself the family alchemist, had announced that she was collecting the gold she had lent grandfather along with the interest. And that interest was everything that grandfather had created. Since this tragedy was right before our eyes as this paragraph was read aloud, it clearly wasn't referring to just the wealth that grandfather had built up. It was literal. Everything that grandfather had given birth to. In other words, all of grandfather's descendants were included in the interest. Okay, so it's the same letter that was last time, about how she's come to collect the interest. I'm just going to read it again, because I thought George was going to read the whole thing, but I guess if it's just a repeat of the letter before. I've served him for many years in accordance with our contract, but today Kinzo-sama has announced the termination of that contract. Therefore, I ask you acknowledge my resignation. Oh, this is different, I think. I ask you acknowledge my resignation from the position of family alchemist as of today. And now, there is one part of the contract that I must explain to you all. I, Beatrice, lent Kinzo-sama a vast quantity of gold under certain terms. One of these terms specifies all gold is to be returned to me upon the termination of the contract. Furthermore, I am to receive everything of the Ushiromiya family as interest. After hearing this, you may feel as though Kinzo-sama has been savagely ruthless. However, Kinzo-sama did append a special clause to the contract so you would have a chance to preserve your wealth and honor. If and only if that special clause is fulfilled, I will lose my rights to the gold and the interest for all eternity. Special clause. Beatrice has the right to collect the gold and accumulated interest upon termination of the contract. However, if someone is able to discover the hidden gold of the contract, Beatrice must abandon those rights for all time. The collection of interest will proceed shortly, but if any of you fulfills the terms of the special clause, I shall return everything, including the portion that has already been collected. Furthermore, as the first step in this collection of Kinzo-sama's debt, I have taken possession of the Ushiromiya family head's ring, which signifies the passage of the Ushiromiya family headship from one individual to another. I ask that you confirm this for yourselves by examining the imprint on the wax seal. Kinzo-sama has already publicly displayed the location of the hidden gold within the epitaph under my portrait. The rules apply equally to all who can read the epitaph. If you discover the gold, I shall return everything to you. Tonight, I ask you enjoy your battle of wits with Kinzo-sama to the fullest. I sincerely pray this night will be both intellectual and elegant. Beatrice the Golden. Oof, man, what a letter.
なんてめちゃくちゃな契約だ。黄金の利子は命だってのかよ。そんなのまるで悪魔の契約じゃねえかよ。それで魔女気取りってわけか。はっ、笑わせやがるぜ。
特別条項。ただし隠された契約の黄金を暴いた者が現れた時、ベアトリーチェはこの権利をすべて永遠に放棄しなければならない。黄金の隠し場所についてはすでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されております。つまりこういうことだね。もしこの殺人が利子の回収行為だというなら、それを止める条件としておじい様に与えた隠し黄金を探し出してみろとこう言ってるんだよ。そしてその秘密は例の肖像画の碑文に隠されているとも言ってる。
つまりこいつは魔女様の挑戦状ってわけか。黄金の隠し場所を記した暗号文を解けるものなら解いてみろと。そしてそれができなきゃ利子の回収をこの後も着々と進めていきますと。ぶっ殺してやる上等だ。
バトラ君、これ
Oh, what now? What now? The table had been full of sweets, so even though they had been right in the open, we assumed they were just sweets. I mean, come on, you find stuff like this a lot, right? Oh, the gold bar, you know, boxes of chocolate shaped like golden ingots. The bar is making an appearance again, but this time it's right out in the open,
こりゃ
rather than hidden away
お
by
菓子の
crows.
箱じゃねえぞ。
Oh, it's a lot of gold.
本物だ。こりゃ本物の金塊だ。
片翼のわしの紋章が刻印されてる。前に母さんが話してたのを聞いた。これはおじいさまの黄金伝説の金塊だよ。
Gold ingots, 3 of them, weighing a full 10 kilograms each, were piled up in the very center of the table. It was where the cake would be placed if it were a birthday party. In other words, this was without a doubt the birthday cake of the party known as the family conference.
これが本当に純度49のインゴットだったなら。
I wish I knew what had happened with all of the siblings before Beatrice killed them, to make them all accept her as a witch.
6000万円くらいの価値はある。
バカ野郎、安すぎる。俺たちの親が6人も殺されて、そこに積まれた黄金がたったの6000万円だと。バカにするんじゃね
え。さあ始まったね、ベアトリーチェ。どうせこの謎は誰にも解けないよ。だから絶対にベアとの勝ち。早く黄金鏡への扉を開いて、そしてマリアを連れてって。
Well, it has begun. Okay, well. Yeah, so I got my murders. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, like, I knew it was coming, but still shocked me, I guess, more so how it was done this time, and it just sounded very disgusting, the descriptions of it. So surprisingly, all of the servants made it out this time. It was basically all of the, pretty much all the Ushiromiya family got wiped out in one fell swoop, at least the adults except for Rosa. That is concerning. Rosa being the only one of them left alive, she already has a tentative grasp of her, like, emotions. And she has to deal with Maria being all, you know, Maria, like creepy Maria. So I imagine, like, we already seeing Rose is starting to lose her temper on Maria, and it's just going to get worse and worse. As we saw in the first episode, everybody was kind of getting fed up with Maria, and Rosa is already at that point with Maria, so I don't see good things happening from this. So, yeah, I guess we'll just have to see what happens next, who dies next. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Special shoutouts to my top-tier patrons: Sparky, Matt Goldsmith, Derek Nickel, Harry Gazif, iCognito, and Asborn Kennedy.